Good morning ADHD world and welcome back to the channel. Today we're off to a place in Scotland, in Lanarkshire, called Hamilton. We're going to meet a lady there who has her own business. It's a charity and she helps children with play, and she does this in forest environments, and she allows children to be the best of who they can be when they're out playing, children who are disadvantaged or who are struggling to be in mainstream school. Jackie and her organisation are helping these kids be able to express themselves through play. So we're going to go along there and meet Jackie, who herself has ADHD, and she's also a biker, so it'll be interesting to hear her story about biking as well, if we can fit that in. So let's jump on a bike, and what bike will we be on today, I wonder? So today we're going on the Harley Davidson Fat Boy. So today we're out on Fat Boy. Been waiting for a while to get this big bike out. Don't like to take it out in the terrible weather in case it gets dirty. So out big old Fat Boy. This bike is quite different to the other bikes that I've got. It's very heavy. It's not as easy to manoeuvre, and you certainly have to lean into the corners when you're turning. But probably similar to what I said about the Rocket in the previous show, this bike just looks amazing. And it always catches people's eye. You get so many comments, folk coming up to you saying how much they like the bike. But after a few minutes of being on it, it's actually quite easy to ride after all. First became famous, Harley Davidson Fat Boy, in the movie Terminator, with Arnie saying he'll be back. When I first went to the showroom to have a look at them, I had no intention of going to buy one. Just wanted to kind of check them out, see what they're like. And then I saw this bike and I sat on it and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then the sales guy came up and he says, do you want me to turn it on for you? And I must have looked like a wee schoolboy, and I looked up at him and I said, could you do that? And he said, yeah. And then he turned it on, and oh my word, from that moment onward I was in love with Fat Boy. And I just knew I had to get one. So here we are out in Fat Boy. Today we're off to Hamilton. I'm going to meet a lady called Jackie, and she's got an outdoor forest school, and play service for children. She's very passionate about what she does. It's all about allowing children to be free, to express themselves, play in such a way that they're not confined, to help bring out the best of who they can be. So I'm really looking forward to going to check this place out and hearing a bit about Jackie's story. So I've arrived at Outlet Play Resource. But before we go in and speak to Jackie, I want to give you a wee bit of insight into the type of young people that come here and the work that Jackie and her colleagues carry out. Watch this wee video.
C1, take one. We get to have so much fun with and there's no rules! And we get to have so much fun with our friends and don't forget the no rules!
So Jackie, thanks very much for inviting me to Outlet Play. Obviously we're here in your headquarters, we're not actually in one of your forests. Be interested to hear a bit about, well, two aspects, your business here and your charity, how you came about the idea of that, and then maybe a wee bit about your ADHD journey. We can come to that later. Tell us a bit about your service and what you do.
So Outlet Play Resource is a charity. We were set up in 2016 and we provide outdoor programmes for young people who struggle to achieve in mainstream education. Right. Often that's for a number of reasons, whether it's additional support needs or trauma.
Right, okay.
And they come to us often in place of school for either a morning or 2 mornings a week, where they get to take part in lots of outdoor activities like bushcraft, fire, den building, but mostly play. It's all about play, really.
Right.
So we work in woodlands across central Scotland. So although we're based in Hamilton, we work predominantly in kind of Motherwell, Hamilton area.
And where do the young people come from?
All over the place.
Is the local authority referring? Or?
Kind of, yeah. So we work with specific schools sometimes, who pick young people who think would benefit from a kind of longer term programme. Okay. We work with North Lanarkshire Virtual School, which is a service specifically for care experience young people. Right. That service sits between education and social work, and it's care experience young people who struggle in education. Right, okay. And they've paid us, they bring us in to provide a range of services from kind of one-to-one support to group support.
And what kind of folk work here with you? What's their backgrounds?
Mixed, really. Yeah, really mixed. So we've got some staff who have been teachers previously. Right. We've got some staff who have personal experience of either supporting maybe their own children who have additional needs. Right. And we have people who are passionate about being outdoors, really. Okay. So it's quite a nice mix. Right. They're a lovely team.
And what is your background? How did you get into this?
It's a bit varied, really. So my background's actually the armed forces. So I spent 8 years in the Royal Navy. Right. And I left because I had my daughter. Right. And as I was leaving, I struggled with my own mental health. Right. So I moved back up I was living down in Portsmouth, and moved back up with my daughter, and at this point I was a single parent. Right. And I just found things really tough. So I ended up volunteering for a whole summer, doing an outdoor play programme. Uh-huh. And as kind of payment, I suppose, for volunteering, I got forest school training. Right. And after seeing the kind of benefits that it had for me being outdoors and being able to play with my daughter outdoors, I then thought I could set something up here. There was kind of a gap, so Outlet was born from that. Right. Really.
And how did you go about doing that then?
I just had a go. I don't know. I mean, we initially set up as a community interest company. I had no experience really in setting up companies or anything like that before.
Did you not?
No. I just decided to have a go and see what would happen.
It's interesting because in the world of ADHD, and I'm struck by this every day, the number of entrepreneurs that we come across, because you have that creativity, ideas and imagination. So that probably has always been there.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I didn't really have a plan. I was like, I just think we can do this, and we just did.
Uh-huh. You didn't write a business plan then?
Not initially. No. And we kind of did a soft start, so we didn't have to put loads of money in to invest or anything. Yeah. At that point, I was delivering most of the programme, so we managed to get some kit, and I had to buy a little bit there. Right. I probably spent about £1,000 at first, and ran it from my house. Brilliant. And just did it.
Is the pace in which charity is going, is it picking up now in terms of growth?
Yeah. So the last couple of years has been insane, really.
Right.
There's just been a massive need for our service.
Yeah.
So we're getting, even now with our increased staff, we still can't fulfil all the need that we're seeing. And we're still having to, we've got schools approaching us now and we're booking for 2023, 2024.
How many young people are in the service?
I'm not 100% sure. We're probably working regularly with about 70 or 80.
Right, okay. So these are disadvantaged young people, or young people who are struggling to be taught in mainstream?
A bit of a mix. So our core service really supports young people who are struggling to be in mainstream education.
Right.
However, we do also have kind of some pay-to-play services because all children need opportunities to play.
Of course, yeah.
And some children can't access the other programs. So maybe they are struggling within school, but they're not struggling enough, if you know what I mean, to be able to get the help through statutory services and things.
Okay. And of these young people, are there kids in there who are neurodiverse, ADHD?
Yeah, definitely. Not all are diagnosed.
No.
There's some who definitely, but some, or they've experienced trauma, and often that can present in very similar ways to ADHD for some young people.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering if that is quite an engaging environment for them, where they're doing things that they really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I guess that their level of focus and attention is probably much better at these times than maybe in school.
Yeah, well, school doesn't suit everybody. So being in the four walls doesn't suit everybody.
No.
And outside just lends itself naturally to kind of regulation for young people. We have known that outdoors has worked for quite a long time, but I recently did a course that talked a lot more about sensory regulation and how that can impact the behaviours of young people. And outdoor lends itself to helping children regulate. As you'll probably know, like everyone knows about 5 senses, but there's actually 8.
Right.
And outdoors kind of helps young people regulate their kind of vestibular proprioceptive systems, really, just through running and lifting, kind of carrying heavy weights and pushing things and jumping and all this kind of stuff.
And how have you found that's helped them maybe reintegrate back into mainstream, or have a positive effect on their life moving forward?
Well, what we find is for some young people, if they come to us in the morning and they've been able to make all these movements and run and jump, they're actually much calmer in the afternoon and can go to school in the afternoon. And that happens quite often. So a lot of the young people we work with, maybe their behaviour's disruptive enough that they're kept on their own in school and they don't get to sit with their classmates, or if they make it there at all. Some of them are kept in rooms on their own and things. And so when they've been with us in the morning, sometimes it's easier for them to integrate back into the class in the afternoon.
And has that helped reduce maybe them being separated or isolated when they go back? Yeah.
There's one young person we worked with for about 1.5 years, and he came to us initially for 3 mornings a week, and then 2 mornings a week. And there was a lot happening for him. He was 8. And he was kept in a room. He would throw tables and things so he was quite violent in the school. We didn't see much of that. We saw wee bits here and there. But after working with us for that long, he's now in a new school, in a classroom, in his wee school uniform. He goes every day.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we were a part of a bigger picture. There was lots of other stuff that was happening, and other interventions in place. So it wasn't all just down to us, by any means. But we definitely played a part in it. And he was able to come to our showcase event and meet like local politicians and other organisations and teach them all how to do fire.
But it must be amazing, even regardless of how small or big a part you play in helping these young people move forward. It must, give you the rocket fuel just to get up in the morning to get in here to do it.
Yeah, it just makes a big difference. We see the nice parts of the kids. So often we'll go to meetings or things and you hear all these difficulties and the struggles that they're having, and we're like, actually, we don't see any of that. No. We see this, and they're making friends and they're doing this and they're helping people. So we just see a totally different side. And I think even for the young people to hear someone else talking about them positively, I think can make a big difference.
And I guess that the limits and boundaries that are in place within school, that they're much more flexible or less in their forest. Yeah,
well, school, they've got 30 kids in a class-ish to consider. And there might be 1 or 2 young people that have quite significant needs, and with the best will in the world, and the teachers are trying, they just can't give them what's needed. It's just it's not possible for one person to be able to do that for 30 kids. So we are able to be really flexible. Everything we do is child-led, child-centred. We see all behaviour as communication. If they're struggling with something, we're trying to work out what's wrong. Like, it could be that they've come in a raging mood in the morning. We're like, have they had breakfast? Like, we're trying to look at these kind of things. So it's very much about meeting the needs of the children, consistently meeting their needs. where maybe that hasn't been able to be happening previously.
And I think that's a very positive and interesting take on it, that you're trying to work out what's actually triggering the behaviour, not just reacting to it.
No. So it's about unconditional positive regard. Like, there can be unwanted behaviours, bad behaviours that we don't want.
Yeah.
And we've had sessions where it's absolutely kicked off and it's ended a bit of a, but the next time we see them, we're delighted to see them, and we're pleased to see them, and we'll meet them exactly the same way again, and we'll just kind of rebuild the relationship. For us, it's about protecting the relationship over anything else, because everything else we can work on, but if you ruin a relationship, it's hard to pull it back.
So we don't live in a very warm country, Jackie, and I'm just wondering about, like, all year round, do you operate outdoors all year round?
Yes.
Regardless of the weather?
Unless there's really high winds, because it's not necessarily safe in the woods when we've got kind of 40 mile an hour plus winds. But apart from that, yes.
So rain, sleet, snow.
Yeah, as long as it's safe to get there. So the main reason sessions get cancelled is if the roads are really bad, so people can't get there, or the wind's really high. And even if the wind's really high, we try and find. Often there's areas where we're working where it's not as bad, or it's quite sheltered. Right, okay. So we try and do that where possible. So brilliant. We don't want to cancel.
Well, it sounds like there is definitely a need and a demand for your service, and the numbers just seem to keep coming, and hopefully you'll continue to be successful with it. Tell us a bit about your own ADHD journey then, because that obviously you got in touch after I put the post out there.
So I got diagnosed with ADHD maybe a year ago, something like that. And like many people, it was kind of through lockdown, I think people slowed down enough to notice. I think that was the thing. And I'd always had this question, so since becoming a mum, I always had this question about how could I stop my daughter being the absolute nightmare teenager that I was? Right? And I've always had it playing over my head, how could I stop it? Could my parents have done something different that would have supported me? And I've ummed about it for a long time, and I was like, I don't think they could have done. Like, I don't think how I was behaving and what I was doing was any reflection on what my parents were doing. So I've ummed about it for a long time, and then I came across, like many people on TikTok and things, that was talking about stuff, and I was like, oh, the bus. I recognise a lot of this. So I decided at that point to try and get an assessment, which took me about 9 months, and then obviously was diagnosed. Which
is quite quick.
Quite quick, it was reasonably quick. And the interesting thing, I suppose, is that, I mean, I've got my story of how I set up Outlet and my reasons behind it, and I say about my mental health. But very recently, my parents were downsizing, and as they do when parents downsize, they give you all the stuff from their loft. Yes. And she gave me all my school reports. And I remember, like, being an absolute people pleaser in primary school, like absolutely needed to do everything right. Teacher's pet needed to be in there, and I remember being like that in first and second year. And then I remember that, like, I wasn't as interested, and that like from third year onwards. And then I read these reports, and I was like, could try harder, doesn't pay attention, talks too much, all this stuff, not fulfilling our potential. And I read it, and I was like, was that bad? All these things. And it was actually a little bit upsetting. I was reading through going, I don't remember this. I don't remember it being that bad. And I think that maybe not knowingly, my passion for supporting kids now who aren't achieving in education is probably linked to the fact that I didn't. I left school as soon as I could. And like I said, I don't really remember it being that bad until I read through all these reports, and it was.
So you think that helped shape your journey to where you are?
Yeah, I think so. But I hadn't realised it because I hadn't really remembered how bad school had been. Because I'd stopped going to school. Like, I stopped. Like, I was ditching school all the time. Like, I was missing classes, and from being this, like, absolute people pleaser. And I think the thing that hit me is no one asked why. So you're reading through all these reports of, like, could try harder, needs to do this, and not one teacher went, what's happened? Because she was really good last year.
It's such a common thing. I think particularly with girls, where we expect to see, super hyperactive, highly impulsive, badly behaved boy. But if you're bright, helpful, conscientious, popular, hardworking, trying your best, worst of all, if you're cute, you won't be on anybody's radar. No. Particularly if you're getting results. But the further down the line you get, it's like a pressure screw turning, as you know. Do you think, because when you were talking there, I was thinking about people with ADHD it's actually so much easier to help other people than it is to help yourself. And I'm just wondering if, based on your experiences in childhood, has that equipped you better? Because, you know, as an adult now, working with young people, it's actually easier and fulfilling to help them.
I think so. I mean, it's easier, I suppose, to relate to stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think I just want to help. I think if one person had been like, what's happened, and noticed, then maybe it could have, I mean, I don't know, but it could have made all the difference. So I like the idea of being that person that's maybe just slightly more aware. And because the kids that we work with really small numbers. So we never take a full class.
All right.
The most we work with in mainstream groups is 12. But the kids that need the kind of more support, the most we take is 6.
Right.
And sometimes it's less than that. So we get to know them really, really well. Right. So often we have 6 young people and 3 staff, or 4 staff, depending on the needs. So we really get to know them. So when there's slight changes in behaviours or there's stuff, we notice, because we just have that relationship.
And I'm just wondering then, with once you were diagnosed, and thinking back to your childhood there, did you have lots of what if questions? What if this was picked up when I was younger? Yeah,
I did for a while. I try not to, because it's not really helpful.
No. It could suck life out of you.
Yeah. So I think I did at first. What I did notice is that suddenly my symptoms got worse. So I was like, what? And I think it was more just accepting that this is what it is, rather anything.
And how have you managed it since then, moving forward? How do you deal with it day to day?
I'm fortunate that I can put things in place. I mean, I'm fortunate that I run outlets, so I'm able to be flexible in how I work. Some days I can't get out the house, and I just accept that. And that's where I was, and I do what work I can do if I can do it. If I need to hide under my weighted blanket, I just do that. And I'm lucky that I'm able to do that. I'm very lucky that my husband is really supportive. And if he sees me sitting with a weighted blanket, he's like, all right, okay. I know where we're at today. So and so it's just trying to be kind, I think, to myself more than anything.
Because you're your biggest critic?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's just trying to be kind to myself with it all.
And I think that's so important, and it's one of the things that I would say to folk with ADHD: recognise your limitations, know what you're good at, and learn to say no a bit more. Because if you keep taking on stuff because you want to help, you end up just spinning plates and the walls just kind of close in. So obviously you kind of recognise that. Yeah. I mean, there's other things that I do, like out with work, and I've got other hobbies, and it's trying to make sure that they don't also take over my entire life. And you're a biker too.
And I'm a biker too, and that's quite new, so that's currently taken over my life. Fitting that in.
Well, I'm quite obsessed with that, as people know. Are you the same?
To an extent, I would ride every day if I could, if it's dry enough. Is how it would work.
And when I was doing this training, I was looking at folk, and that way my ADHD antennae were thinking, he looks a bit ADHD, she's definitely ADHD. And I just wondered, do you think people in the motorbike world are more likely to be ADHD because it's fast and it's risky? Possibly.
I mean, what I like about it is that I can't think about anything else. No. So I have to just concentrate on exactly what I'm doing. So all the other stuff that's going on is quiet. Because, it's quiet if I put music on and focus and do that. So that's quite nice. So when you're riding somewhere, it does give you that peace for a little bit. So possibly they could be.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for inviting me here to your place and telling me all about your charity, your business. It sounds like you're doing amazingly well and helping so many young people. And all the very best with that in the future. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you very much.
So that was Jackie, and I'm sure you'll agree that she's doing a fantastic job by all these young people, supporting them access education in the great outdoors where maybe otherwise they would struggle within mainstream. So she's clearly doing a wonderful job with her and her team, and probably very similar to other people that we'll see in the show. She's very passionate about what she does, and like many people with ADHD, when it comes to things that she's very interested in, very passionate about, she is laser focused, and she's able to deliver and provide a service that she should be proud of. So well done to Jackie. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to seeing you the next time here on ADHD in Two Wheels. Bye for now.